our channel. But don't just scroll away, because what you're about to hear is not just a business story. This is a life story. A story of a boy who grew up in pain, who watched his father suffer, who lived in broken apartments and walked through life feeling invisible. And yet, he went on to build one of the most loved brands on earth. Not just a coffee shop, but a brand that changed how the world starts its day. And no, he wasn't born rich. No, he didn't have connections. No, he didn't even found the company he would one day transform. He was laughed at, rejected, and told, "No one will ever pay $3 for a cup of coffee." He heard no not once, not 10 times, but 217 times. And still, he did it. His name is Howard Schultz. And this is the story of how he turned a painful childhood into a billion-dollar brand. How he transformed coffee into culture, and how rejection became the fuel that made him unstoppable. And yes, while you listen, you're also improving your English. Because we use clear, emotional, beginner-friendly storytelling that helps you learn new words, real-life lessons, and become fluent through stories. So grab your coffee, or your dreams, because this isn't just a story you'll remember. This is a story that might change your life. Part 1. The Boy Who Grew Up in Japan. Brooklyn, New York, 1953. Howard Schultz was born into a world where dreams were small, because life was hard. He grew up in the Bayview housing projects, a government housing project in a rough Brooklyn neighborhood where people survived paycheck to paycheck. His father was a delivery driver, no big job, no stability, no health insurance. One day he slipped on ice and injured his hip badly. And you know what happened? Nothing. No medical help, no compensation, no support, no voice. Howard watched his father, a strong man, become broken and hopeless overnight. He watched him sit on the couch, jobless, depressed, and filled with shame. There was no one to help, no one to care. Howard would later say, "That moment changed me. I saw what it meant to be a number, not a person. I promised myself, if I ever built a company, it would honor people, not crush them." He was just a boy, but that pain stayed in his soul. They were so poor, Howard used to feel embarrassed to bring friends home. He had no room of his own, no luxury, not even enough clothes sometimes. He said, "When you're that poor, you never forget it. Poverty leaves a shadow." But this shadow didn't kill him. It lit a fire inside him. Howard had no path laid out for success, but he had one superpower: determination. He played sports. He worked odd jobs. He sold newspapers. He saved money. And against all odds, he became the first in his family to go to college. But even that wasn't easy. He didn't go to Harvard. He went to Northern Michigan University on a football scholarship and worked as a bartender and salesman to pay for school. After college, he started working as a salesman for Xerox, one of the best sales training companies at that time. He was good, very good, but Howard wanted more. One day, he joined a small kitchenware company. His job? Sell coffee machines to local cafes. And that's when something unexpected happened. While analyzing sales reports, he noticed one small client in Seattle kept buying more machines than anyone else. He was curious, so he flew there to find out why. The company was called Starbucks. At that time, it had just 4 stores, and it didn't even sell coffee to drink, just beans, grinders, and equipment. But there was something about the people, the energy, the philosophy. Howard fell in love. He said, "There was something magical about Starbucks. I saw more than coffee. I saw warmth, authenticity, culture." And in that moment, a seed was planted. He quit his job, He joined Starbucks. But he had no idea that this small decision would lead to the biggest battle of his life. Howard Schultz had seen pain. He had felt invisible. He had been poor, hopeless, and humiliated. But he also had a dream. To build something better than what his father had. To build a company that respected people. And he had just found the perfect soil. Starbucks. What he didn't know yet was that the very people he admired would soon turn down his biggest idea. They would say, "That's not who we are." But Howard Schultz was no ordinary man. He didn't just sell coffee. He was about to sell a new way of life. Howard Schultz had joined Starbucks, a small company in Seattle. He was not the owner. He was not rich. He was just an employee. But inside him, something bigger was growing. A vision that nobody else could see. In 1983, Starbucks sent Howard to Milan, Italy, for a trade show. It was supposed to be a short business trip, but what he discovered there changed the direction of his life. As he walked through the streets of Milan, something caught his heart. There were espresso bars on every corner, busy, vibrant, full of people. But they weren't just drinking coffee. They were talking, laughing, sharing moments, connecting. The barista knew people by name. Customers didn't just come for coffee. They came for experience, emotion, community. Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform. Describe what you want, and watch it take shape. Howard stood there, speechless. It was like stepping into a new world. This is it, he thought. This is what America doesn't have. We don't have this culture, this experience, this feeling. He didn't see coffee. He saw warmth. He saw belonging. He saw something human. When he returned to Seattle, Howard walked into the Starbucks office on fire with excitement. He told the founders, "We need to open coffee bars, not just sell beans. Let people drink the coffee here. Let's create that Italian espresso culture, right here in America." He was excited. He was confident. He was ready to build something new. But then came the answer that broke him. The founders of Starbucks, Jerry Baldwin, Zev Siegel, and Gordon Bowker, listened quietly. Then they said, "No, that's not who we are. We sell coffee beans, not serve drinks." They didn't believe Americans would ever go for it. They thought people wouldn't pay $2 or $3 for a cup of coffee. They thought it was too risky, too strange. Howard was stunned. This was his moment, his dream, his mission, and it was crushed. Howard didn't argue. He didn't scream, but inside he knew. If they won't do it, I have to do it myself. And so, with nothing but belief, Howard made the biggest decision of his life. He would leave Starbucks to start his own coffee bar. Howard was heartbroken. He loved Starbucks, but his dream was bigger than loyalty. So in 1985, he quit. He decided to start a company called Il Giornale, named after an Italian newspaper. But he had no money. He had to raise funds to start. Howard believed in his idea. He thought investors would too. But what happened? Rejection. After rejection. After rejection. He would walk into meetings full of passion and walk out with closed doors. Americans won't pay $3 for coffee. You're not Italian. This won't work here. You're dreaming too big. He was laughed at, ignored, and insulted. He said, "I was rejected 217 times. That number is burned into my brain." But he kept going, day after day, meeting after meeting, pitch after pitch, until finally, 30 investors said yes. He raised $400,000. And in 1986, opened his first coffee bar in Seattle. It wasn't just a coffee shop. It was a love letter to Italy. Howard made sure everything felt different. Italian music played softly in the background. Baristas remembered your name. You didn't just buy coffee. You had an experience. And guess what? People loved it. They didn't care that it was new. They didn't care about the price. They came for the feeling. Il Giornale became an instant hit. Howard proved them wrong. While Il Giornale was booming, something unexpected happened. The founders of Starbucks, the very people who said no, decided to sell the company. They were moving on. Starbucks was too small for them now. Howard saw a chance, a big one, a dangerous one. A dream that had once been denied to him was now up for sale. But there was a problem. In 1987, Howard found out the price. To buy Starbucks, he needed $3.8 million. That's about $10 million today. And Howard didn't have that kind of money. He was still small, still building. But this wasn't just a business move for him. This was personal. This was his dream. So once again, he went back into battle. He talked to every investor he could find. He begged, he pitched, he cried. He told them, "This is not just a coffee company. This is my life's purpose." Finally, after weeks of effort, he raised the money. And in August 1987, at age 34, Howard Schultz bought Starbucks for $3.8 million. And he didn't just buy the company. He bought back his vision.
Des taches sur vos vêtements et votre esprit. Ajoutez 8 ongles pour s'attaquer aux deux.
Part 2. The coffee that became a culture. It was 1987. Howard had just bought Starbucks, but what did he actually buy? It wasn't a global brand. It wasn't profitable. It wasn't even a proper cafe. All it had was 6 stores, a small roasting plant, a confused brand identity, and a few dozen employees. The company did not serve coffee to drink. It only sold coffee beans, machines, and accessories. There were no lattes, no cappuccinos, no frappuccinos, and no music. Nothing you recognize today existed yet. Howard had a mountain to climb. Howard didn't just want to own Starbucks. He wanted to reinvent it. His mission was clear. Starbucks will not just sell coffee. It will sell an experience, a feeling, a third place between work and home. So he got to work. Howard had 3 key principles. 1. Create a human connection. Customers should feel seen, valued, and respected. 2. Design stores with emotion. Each store would be warm, inviting, with soft lighting, music, and a unique smell. 3. Make every cup feel personal. The baristas would remember names, smile, and make you feel like family. He didn't want to sell fast coffee. He wanted to build ritual, emotion, and community, just like he saw in Italy. Howard focused on tiny things that other businesses ignored. The smell inside the store. Never let food overpower the smell of coffee. The music. Every Starbucks had curated playlists to match the mood. The seating. Cozy, not cramped. The counters. Designed so baristas and customers could talk comfortably. The lighting, always soft, never harsh. The names on cups, to make every customer feel special. And most importantly, the person behind the counter is not just making coffee. They are creating warmth. Howard believed the employees were the heart of the brand. He didn't call them staff or workers. He called them partners. Even part-time baristas were given healthcare benefits, stock options, training not just for skill, but for soul. This was revolutionary in America, especially for a coffee shop. Howard said, "If we treat our people well, they will treat our customers well, and everything will take care of itself." He made sure baristas looked customers in the eye, smiled, asked how your day was, remembered regulars. In Starbucks, you were not a number. You were a name, a person, a story. In 1987, after Howard took over, Starbucks had just 6 stores. No national presence, a huge vision, but very little profit. Over the next 5 years, he grew Starbucks to 165 stores, across cities like Chicago, Vancouver, and New York. But this growth wasn't random. Every location was carefully picked. Every store was designed to create community, not just sell coffee. Howard refused to franchise the stores. Why? Because he wanted to protect the experience. He said, "I want to control the quality, the emotion, the feeling. That can't be outsourced." Before Starbucks, most Americans had never heard of espresso, latte, cappuccino, macchiato, frappuccino. Howard made these words part of everyday life. He trained his staff and customers to learn them, patiently and respectfully. And slowly, the culture changed. People didn't just say coffee, they said, "Can I get a tall vanilla latte with soy milk?" Starbucks didn't just sell drinks. It educated, uplifted, and reshaped how people thought about their daily routine. Howard knew the power of branding. He didn't want just a good cup of coffee. He wanted customers to feel proud holding a Starbucks cup. So they invested heavily in clean, minimalist logo design, high-quality cup materials, consistent green and white branding, a sense of premium experience. Very soon, holding a Starbucks cup became a statement. "I'm successful. I have taste. I take care of myself. This is my time." Howard realized something deep. People aren't just buying coffee. They're buying a moment of peace, a sense of belonging, a way to feel seen. And that's exactly what he gave them. For a few dollars, 3, 4, 5, people didn't just get a drink. They got a cozy seat, calm music, friendly conversation, a small break from the chaos of life. And that was priceless. By the early 1990s, Starbucks had expanded to several major US cities. It was earning millions in revenue. Customer loyalty was extremely high. The brand was now seen as modern, classy, and cool. People went to Starbucks to read, to write, to have meetings, to fall in love, to take a break, to feel human. By the early 1990s, Starbucks was no longer just a Seattle brand. It had become a national sensation. The coffee shop was a cultural icon, a lifestyle statement, a business case study, and a morning ritual for millions. But Howard was not satisfied.
My name is Emma. I am 24 years old.